This case is a fascinating one to analyze. Fascinating because it teaches us a lot of things. We will learn many things from this incident, and fortunately, neither of the two participants were injured, despite what looked like a situation that could have ended with serious or even fatal injuries. Both came out unscathed. We see this young woman, this pilot, who is flying in a thermal in Colombia, where the thermals are broad and wide, and many pilots fly there over flat terrain. She is sharing the thermal with another pilot named Anton, whose video I got from his channel. I'll include the video sources in the description below. They are circling in the thermal, and although it seems from this angle that they are far apart, this 360-degree camera tends to make objects appear more distant than they actually are. So if you can see this size of a paraglider here, it means they are much closer in reality. I believe both pilots are flying quite close. We can also observe that neither of them has visual contact with the other. It's crucial when flying in a thermal and flying close to another pilot that we always keep visual contact. We must constantly be aware of where others are and ensure the other pilot sees us too, to avoid any potential collisions. These two pilots are not watching each other, and at one point, it seems that Anton makes a sharper turn and collides with the filming pilot. They crash, and Anton, the paraglider pilot, reacts correctly by immediately deploying his reserve parachute upon impact with the other pilot's lines. He wastes no time. Remember, there are situations where you need to deploy the reserve instantly, and one of those is when you collide with another paraglider in the air. He deploys his reserve properly using the right technique. He throws the reserve, he doesn't just let it go. Remember, when deploying the reserve parachute, there are two options: throw it or release it, depending on the situation. If you are in a vertical fall or a stall, you need to throw the parachute because if you just let it go, it might not open. On the other hand, if you are in a spin or centrifugal force situation, you should let go of the reserve instead of throwing it, as throwing it could lead to the risk of it getting caught by the glider. We can hear Anton shouting, telling the girl to deploy her reserve as well.
Throw your reserve! Come on! Throw your reserve! Throw it! With us!
This is very important because with just one reserve parachute, although it will carry the weight, both pilots will be very close to the maximum capacity. What does that mean? Their descent rate with a single reserve will be quite high. They'll save their lives, but they might hit the ground hard. Ideally, each paraglider should deploy their own reserve parachute, allowing both reserves to open and create more drag. It will be like when the space shuttle uses multiple parachutes to slow its landing. However, we see that here, the girl delays deploying her reserve. It's not clear why exactly. Maybe she got nervous, panicked, or the spinning of the canopies made it difficult for her to find the reserve quickly. The white square that looks like a cloud is Anton's reserve parachute. This blue and yellow thing here is Anton's canopy, and this red, multicolored one is the girl's canopy. This mess, this pile of lines resembling noodles, is the girl's reserve that couldn't open. Only when we see Anton's reserve open and settle above them do they slow down. That's when Anton can even get closer to the girl and tell her more clearly to deploy her reserve. The two bodies stick together, and at that moment, the girl manages to pull out her reserve, but in a disorganized way. It's not entirely clear in the video why she gets so tangled up. It shouldn't happen. One possible reason is that when she pulls it out, she holds onto the reserve handle for too long, causing the parachute to start opening near her, leading to tangling. That's why, when we deploy the reserve, we need to act immediately, either by throwing it or letting it go. We cannot stay holding onto the reserve handle, or the parachute fabric will begin to deploy close to us and get tangled in the lines. That could be one reason, but we see that. The pilot gets entangled in her lines, making it difficult for her to throw the reserve. When she manages to throw the reserve, it is already tangled, so instead of throwing it, she just releases it. And this leads to precisely what we need to avoid. The canopy catches the reserve and prevents it from opening. So, both pilots are left with just one reserve parachute. If we go back to when Anton deployed, his reserve, he immediately killed his canopy. How do you kill a canopy? By pulling the brakes, the C lines, or B lines, collapsing the canopy to enter a stall. Once it has no pressure, you can keep pulling the lines and grab the fabric to stop it from reopening. Because if both the canopy and the reserve open, they won't provide more lift or drag, but quite the opposite. It's not like two open reserves. Two open reserves stay on top, but an open canopy tries to fly to the side, while the reserve stays opposite. This leads to faster descent and could cause rotation or swinging. In either case, this will increase impact speed with the ground. Therefore, when we deploy the reserve, we must collapse the canopy, entering a stall, and then grabbing the canopy fabric to keep it from interfering. Anton did this very well. He was able to control his canopy, but the other pilot couldn't. She tries pulling the lines, but it's not clear in the video. My guess is she's either pulling the A lines or a stabilo line. Neither is a good option because pulling A lines won't stall the canopy, it will inflate it and increase pressure, making it counterproductive. The same applies to pulling a stabilo line. It will cause the canopy to turn and further obstruct the reserve. If you're unsure about which lines you're pulling, it's better to leave them alone. Pull only the brake lines, which are easy to identify. I think she was pulling the A lines instead of the B or C lines, causing the canopy to reopen and turn. This is where the situation becomes more dramatic, as they were initially descending rapidly with one reserve, but not spinning. Now, the pilot's actions cause rotation, increasing speed. That's why we hear them both shouting.
Pull your
Feeling the increasing speed and rotation. They only have one reserve. The other one is completely tangled, and their canopy is interfering, with the open reserve causing rotation and faster descent. Luckily, when they hit the ground, the camera cuts off. After checking Anton's channel, he confirms that neither pilot suffered any injuries, so it was a happy ending after all, leaving us with several important lessons. The first is, if I'm flying in a thermal, sharing it with one or more pilots, I must keep constant visual contact to know their direction. The other person must also see me and know where I'm going. This is crucial to avoid collisions. Second lesson, if I collide with another paraglider in the air, don't hesitate. Deploy the reserve immediately. The faster you do it, the more altitude you'll have to solve the issue. Once the reserve is deployed, collapse the canopy. You can do this by pulling the brakes, rolling the brakes, or using the lines. If unsure which line or riser you're pulling, it's best not to pull. Both pilots need to do this because a single reserve will carry too much weight and the descent will be too fast. Third lesson, when deploying the reserve, throw it away from the other gliders, because if you just let it go, the gliders will catch it, preventing it from opening. Fourth lesson, when pulling the reserve out of its container, release it quickly. because holding onto the handle too long risks entangling the lines with the reserve. That's all for this analysis. I hope these lessons help you have safer flights, knowing that many of these accidents can be avoided by following correct procedures during flight. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.